I'm so honored to call this church my family. Because we pray for each other when we're in need. And we have faith in each other that we'll be there. You know, it honors me to be able to speak to you today. I missed the last 2 weeks, but I heard they're amazing. Our brother Mike, and you see the kind of preacher he is, he just prayed. You got to hear him talk about Abel and see faith by worshiping, acceptable worship. It's an amazing thing. This faith. That's what we're doing, a series called The Hall of Faith. We're going to go through Hebrews 11 and we're going to explore each of these people's lives and just examine that word faith. That's what we have. And we're blessed because God gave us that faith. We didn't achieve that faith on our own. God blessed us with the faith. And we got to hear Jack shortly after that, the Sunday after, speak about Enoch and walking in faith, walking with the Lord. And that's tough. Walking with the Lord, but he says he'll be right by our side the whole time. Step for step. And when we don't see those steps, that's where he carried us, right? So it's a beautiful thing. Now I get the honor of preaching. Am I not speaking loud enough? Because I'm way in this mic. All right, there you go. But I get the honor of speaking about Noah. This wonderful guy. We get to see faith at work, or obedient faith. So I said, well, I went, looked up some quotes, and I was like, well, but what could a good quote would be to kind of start us off? It says, faith enables the believing soul to treat the future as present and the invisible as unseen. Dr. J. Oswald Sanders said. It's hard to have faith in things that are unseen. I think it's hard to have faith in things that are seen. You know, because then you see how sometimes it just doesn't seem like it's right. You I think of amusement parks, talk about Lakeside, right? I look at that old roller coaster over there, and you must have faith to get on that roller coaster. You know, I'm just saying. I went on that all the time as a kid, and I was an adult, I'm like, I'm a little sketchy. But there's these aspects of faith that we want to explore during this series. And the one we're going to explore today is the obedient faith. God calls us to obey. Obey Him. Obey His word. It's hard for us to obey, if we be honest. I know it's hard for me. My whole life, I think, I didn't live in disobedience, but when somebody told me what to do, I told them, don't tell me how to live. You don't know me. You don't know my situation. But in Hebrews, we get this picture of this man, this righteous man named Noah. And it says, by faith Noah, being warned by God concerning events as yet unseen, in reverent fear constructed an ark for the saving of his household. By this he condemned the world and became an heir of righteousness that comes by faith. Jesus says, if you love me, obey my commandments. We're going to see this guy Noah, that's how he showed his faith. He obeyed. It's easy to believe in things, but not act on it. James said even the demons believe. But the thing that separated them is they didn't obey. They had to. When Jesus told them to get out, they had to get out. But somebody once told me that Jesus is a gentleman, right? So he lets us make our own choice. So he gives us that choice to obey him. That was the first thing he told Adam and Eve. You can have everything in this garden. It is all yours. Just don't eat from that tree. If you love me, you obey me, you won't eat from that tree. And we all know the story. What happened? They disobeyed. That's when sin entered the world. We all have disobeyed God. One time or another, probably 5 times on the way here. But another way of looking at obeying is works. How do we show our obedience? We can't just do that, obey God, and idly do nothing. Instead, we show our obedience through who we are, by the fruit we bear. We obey Him if He says, hey, thou shalt love thy neighbor. We love our neighbors. We don't just write that off. He says you should love your Lord God with all your heart, soul, and mind. We obey Him. We do that. And that sums up the whole workings of the law. Because by loving somebody, we're not going to murder them. We're not going to steal from them. We're not going to covet them. We're not going to do any of those things. We're just going to love them. And we do that because we love God. And this guy Noah loved God. Faith leads to obedience. I want to talk about a lot of obedience today. My wife's like, this guy obeys nothing. I don't know what he said. But my mom's here too, so she just man. That's why it's great what God does, right? He can use the broken to speak. Because I don't just preach to you, but the Lord preaches to us. And He's the one telling us to obey. Not me saying you need to obey, but it's God saying, obey me because He loves me. And if you have faith in me, it will lead to obedience. And Noah loved God and wanted to do it. He obeyed Him when He said, Noah, go build an ark. Noah seemed like an intelligent man. Probably got some good head on his shoulders. He's probably like, what's an ark? A box? How big of a box? We'll build a box big enough for you and all the animals in the kingdom. Well, like I said, there's the animals, all the species of animals. I'm going to drown the world, Noah. I looked over the world and I got to try to save it. It's going the wrong way. And Noah didn't get mad at God. He didn't get angry with God. Instead, he obeyed. I mean, throughout the Bible, or throughout chapter 6 through 9, all you hear throughout is God speaking to Noah and Noah acting. Noah was found as the righteous man, blameless in his generation. And reason why he was doing that is because he believed God. Noah wasn't anybody special. But his God was special. And he believed in that. And so since he believed him, he obeyed him. Noah, as is in 6:22 of Genesis, he did all that God commanded. Then the Lord said, Noah, go into the ark. So you know what Noah did? He went into the ark. Every time you hear about Noah, God said to Noah, God said to Noah, God said to Noah. And you never hear Noah say, but God. How many of us here when God said, we said, but God, why? Why? I don't know. I think that's a pretty honest question. Why should I? Why should I obey you? Look at the situation you put me in. Look at the circumstance I'm in. Look at the suffering I'm going through. Look at the hardship I have to experience. But Noah doesn't argue with them. He does. God said, and Noah did. That's why he's in the Hall of Faith. That's why we're talking about him thousands of years later. Because Noah listened to God. God said, and Noah did. How many of us got to work on that? I got to work on that. God tells me to do something, and I'm like, maybe next week. Or Mike, you know what you should be doing. I'm like, I know, but it's inconvenient. It's not for me, Lord. Somebody else will do it. How many of us, just let God handle it through somebody else? I mean, it's a tough truth, but I mean, it's hard sometimes. God's pricking your heart and saying, man, go talk to that guy about Jesus. He needs Jesus. You're like, but I'm hungry. Or, man, if I made a U-turn right now, Lord, I would get pulled over. There's a sign that says no U-turn, and you won't be breaking no laws. Right? I mean, we make excuses. We are just full of excuses. But we talk about this guy Noah, because he had no excuse. Instead, he just said, okay, I'll do it. And while he was doing it, people were mocking him. They were making fun of him. It says in the Bible, there was never even rain. There wasn't even rain until this point. Like a mist come up. It was like a real perfect environment. So now you got this guy building a boat in the middle of dry land saying, guys, God told me it's going to rain. God said it was going to flood. And everybody laughs at him and makes fun of him. It's kind of like us. When we're telling them about Jesus and how wonderful Jesus is, some people, what do? They mock us. I'm like, that's a wonderful story, but I live in the real world where if there was such a good God, why would there be such bad things? Or if God was so good, why would he allow such evils? If God. But instead it says no. We just listen to him. He says we go. And I pulled this one out because the reason why this verse in 2 Peter 2:5, the reason why I wanted to say this was because the reason why we live the way we live and the reason why we say what we do, even though we are going to experience mockery, even though we are going to be chastised by what we say and people are going to make fun of us, we do it because we know that the implications of not believing in Jesus Christ is so huge that people will suffer for it for eternity. If we believe in heaven, we believe in hell, and if we were to be honest and we cared about somebody's soul, we would crawl across glass to prevent them from going to hell. We would do everything in our power to explain to them that there's something better. And that's what Noah did. I think Noah, he said he's a preacher of righteousness, and by him building that ark, it was an illustrated sermon of saying, guys, we need to be saved from our sin. So he did it faithfully, and he was obedient to the Lord, and he built that ark in front of everybody, amongst the mockery, amongst everything, so they could see what he was doing. He lived out his faith. That's what we do. We live out our faith. This is the 2 Peter. Peter's writing to the believers in, I think it was Ephesus. If he did not spare the ancient world, but preserved Noah, a herald of righteousness, with 7 others, when he brought a flood upon the world of the ungodly, what is he going to do to all the others? It's a serious thing, this obedience thing. I think that's what I'm just trying to get to. Because I wrestled with it. I wrestled with it like for 3 weeks. Because I can't come with integrity and come talk to you guys about it if I can't look at myself and hear about it. I had to think, what does it mean to be obedient to the Lord? Maybe I can have a couple examples. What is it to be obedient to the Lord? Who's being obedient today? Oh man, that was a rough one. I think you guys are all being as obedient as we can, but we could always do better, right? No. I asked you that question because I had asked me I had a worse thing. Like, man. Why couldn't I preach about Abel? You know, I got a good one. You know, because we got to ask ourselves those questions. How am I obeying God? Especially if God says, if you love me, you'll obey me. I mean, how are you living out your faith? How are you walking your faith? How are you illustrating to the world of it? And I was so tempted to tell you all about this wonderful story of Noah. It's a beautiful story. It's a real story. It's true. But we're going to talk about not the story of Noah, because we know that ark was a representation of Jesus Christ. It kept those righteous people above the judgment of sin, which was that flood that drowned all those people. We know God is capable of doing anything, because with God all things are possible. And I don't think I have to exercise that part with you guys, but I think the thing that we got to keep on hitting home is God, through Noah's life, showed us that it's not by works that we're saved, but it's by faith alone. But what does your faith do? It manifests into works. It manifests into obedience. How many times have we invited somebody to church and they're like, Mike, I want to go to church, but I got to fix this first. No, you don't. Oh, Mike, you know, if I went to church right now, you guys are going to look at me like I'm just a sinner. Well, so am I. You're totally invited, because that's all we are. Well, let me shine my shoes a little bit more. Let me get a haircut. Nah, man. You see half of the people over there, we don't need no haircuts. So I always think of John the Baptist. I'm pretty sure that guy didn't have a good hairdo any day of the week, you know? It was kind of sad when I had my long hair and beard. We were like, you look John the Baptist. And I don't know if that's a compliment or... but it's our lives are an illustration to this world. So let that be an illustration of obedience. When God tells you to do something, say, okay. And Isaiah, I love that question he posed to Isaiah. He's like, who am I going to send? And what does Isaiah? Send me. Send me. I'm ready. I'm willing. I love that because he didn't say I'm capable. He said I'm willing. I'm available. Right? You don't need to be capable. You just need to be available. And God will do amazing things in your life. So after this 120 years, it took him 120 years to build this ark. Amazing feat. You know, and then it flooded the whole world. And then he floated on top of the world. And it was just this crazy story. You're like, oh my gosh. What was it happening? Noah built an altar to the Lord and took some of every clean animal and some of every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. He worshiped God. After all the flooding and all the work and after everything, how many times do we, like, after we do something really tough, really hard, we're just like, yeah, man, I did good. Oh, no, it wasn't you, it was the Lord. The Lord, that's the only way we're able to do anything that's glorifying Him is because of Him. And I think too many times we want to pat ourselves on the back. No, could have got out and been like, I'm going to, there's only 7 more other than me. There's only 8 of us. I'm going to build a statue of me. No, we didn't do that. I'm just saying, I put myself in the story. No, what do? He built an altar to the Lord. And offered it up to the Lord. He offered Him worship and praise. And God, like we learned about in the first part of this series, He was acceptable to Him. He accepted it. He loved it. Because when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, the Lord said in His heart, I will never again curse the ground because of man, for the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I ever again strike out every living creature as I have done. He says, while the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. Oh, I love that. because of one man's acceptable worship and one man's faith, God promised, I would never destroy this world again the way I did. We know he's going to do it in another way later on in fire. There still will be judgment. Because we are deserving of judgment. But it says there's forgiveness in Christ. Christ has forgiven us. Christ saved us from God's judgment. That's an amazing thing. And so what do? Is we love him for that. And what's one way of showing? There's a lot of ways of showing love. But the best way to show God we love him is to obey him. And one of my favorite verses is from James. It says, for as the body apart from the spirit is dead, so also faith apart from works is dead. And what? We know what Ephesians says, for by grace you are saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves, it is the gift of God, it is not from works, so that no one can boast. So people get a lot of confusion with those two verses. That's why I read it together. It's like, oh, James sounds like he's preaching salvation through works. Well, Paul's preaching salvation through grace. No, they're in unison together, because what it's saying is, by grace you are saved, and because you are saved, your works will be manifested. Your obedience will come. It will show up in your life. Your fruits will be, you'll bear fruit. You are saved by grace and grace alone. But then, because of that salvation, because of that forgiveness, because of that love we have for God, all we can end up doing is manifesting and working for him, pretty much. Obeying him. Keeping his commandments. You don't want to go around telling everybody, I'm saved by grace and I can do whatever I want. In a sense, Paul does say, all things are permissible, but not all things are profitable, right? It's one of my favorite verses because, man, in America, there's a lot of things I can do. Doesn't mean they're good for me. I just heard the other day, you could go take hallucinogenical mushrooms. Doesn't mean it's going to make you better or happier. It's not good for you. It's poison. I'm speaking from experience. I've done things like this. You know what? We are allowed to go have beer whenever we want. We're 21. You can go drink, but is it profitable? It's permissible, but it's not profitable. And I'm not condemning nobody. I'm just saying is, I'm not saying you're disobeying by doing that. What I'm saying is, are we being that living illustration of obedience to God that he wants us to be? Are we honoring him? Like Noah did. Like, I'm not going to ask you guys next week, hey, did you obey God this week? I did to pose that question, so I'm sorry. I put you on the spot. That was messed up. Like I said, though, I asked me that question first, and I was just like you guys. I was silent. Because that's a hard question to answer. But I want to reassure you, you are obeying him by faithfully seeking him. Because the more you seek him, you will find him. And when you find him in your heart, it's just going to come out. It's just going to come out. Yes. When I look at you guys, I know who Christ is. No, when we look around at each other, we know who Christ is because Christ is in us. I mean, it's just a wonderful, wonderful gift that he gives us as each other. We should have faith that obeys. And like I said, you can take that obey it, faith that works. Because that's how people see it. Nobody's going to see the faith you have by you just saying you have it, but they're going to see it by you showing up on, what was the last outreach we did? It was the kids one, right? Oh man, I can see how much faith you guys had. We don't know how many kids are showing up. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to be there. And I heard so many kids showed up. So many kids were blessed. Kids even got like a free bicycle. I mean, it just works. Faith just works. So let your faith work. And stop having excuses. Let's try to be like this guy Noah. This guy that was told to do something and just did it. I mean, easier said than done, right? I know. I have some good excuses. I got some in my back pocket that I pull out just in case. I'm married. I have to have that in my back pocket. You know, why didn't you throw the trash? Well, yeah. This needs to be done. Well, baby, I don't know if you noticed it was raining at that movie right now. Come on. She's, you know, it's funny coming through Noah. She's like, I ain't flooding out there. Let's get it. No, what we could do, what we could try to challenge ourselves to do is stop making excuses. Just have faith. If God tells us to do something, let's do it. Let's not overthink it. Let's not over-contemplate it. But instead, let's just faithfully go for it. If I can have you guys all stand up. I'm going to call the prayer team. Who is Josie and Vic, Jamie Gilbert, Anna Fernandez, Maria, and Brian. He's here. And also, can I call up Kathy is not here, so I'm going to do the benediction today.
She's here.
Where's she at? I don't see her.
Way in the back.
Kathy!
She did.
We'll have our sister do the benediction. And Father, just tell you guys, thank you again for being part of my family. Amen.